There's only all right, here we go. Yeah, you're right. It's always good. All right, here we go.
All right. My conspiracy is Paul is dead by me. Um,
Wait a minute. Did you sound like you just killed Paul?
yeah. Do I do the slide thing or?
Oh, I gotta move it. My fault. So as long as if it's on here, you just hit the left button and it'll move.
All right. So Paul McCartney was born June 18th, 1942 in Liverpool. He was most famously a member of the Beatles from 1957 to 1970 after they broke up. He's pretty widely known as one of the greatest musicians of all time, if not the greatest bassist for the Beatles. He was part of the songwriting team, Lennon McCartney, and all that. So a rumor was started. Well, it became popular in 1969, but the rumor states that in 1966, and here's the funny part, they give two different dates because they're not sure. The conspiracy theorists, they don't know. It's either September 11th, 1966, or November 9th, 1966. Apparently, he had an argument with the Beatles, and then he left the argument in his car and crashed it. And then after that, the conspiracy says that Beatles thought the public would be very sad and distraught hearing that Paul McCartney's dead. So they allegedly replaced him with a perfect look-alike, a perfect sound-alike, has all the same musical skills as the original one. They're also not sure what his name could be. Some of them say his name is William Campbell, aka Billy Shears. We'll explain that later. But again, it didn't become popular until 1969. A man named Tim Harper wrote an article about it called Is Beatle Paul McCartney Dead? So here is just some of the proof. So a character from one of their albums, Sgt. Pepper's, it's a concept album. One of the characters' name is Billy Shears. And they came up with the idea after the album came out that, oh, this Billy Shears person, that must be Paul McCartney, since they talk about him a lot. And another piece of evidence is that Paul McCartney's looks changed from the earlier Beatles days of 1960s, and like all those in the black and white, and then he started looking different in 1969. I'll explain why that is later. The Michigan Daily, very credible news source, posted an article that said it was on October 14th, 1969, saying that Paul McCartney dies. Some guy named Russ Gibb produced a special about it, which further, just all of this is adding to the popularity in 1969. And this is also going on when some of the Beatles' arguments are becoming public, when it was becoming more known that they were kind of struggling. There's this a lyric at the end of Strawberry Fields after like the actual song is done. A lot of people think that they hear I buried Paul, and the I being John Lennon. So yeah. And here is when I was talking about the looks. This is Paul in 1964, and this is him in 1969. Clearly looks very different, must be two different people. Definitely cannot be explained by him being 5 years older and having a beard and different hair, but...
I was going to ask what that facial.
Yeah, well, that's Billy Shears. Paul McCartney does not have facial hair. Here's more proof. There was a song on the Sgt. Pepper's album called A Day in the Life, and in the first verse they're talking about a man who blew his mind out in the car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. They think that they're talking about, or John is talking about Paul McCartney. And there's also on one of the songs ever called Revolution 9, if you reverse it, some people think that they hear Turn Me On, Dead Man. Very credible. Also on the album cover of Sgt. Pepper's, there seems to be like a flowers on the grave shaped like a bass guitar, which is what Paul plays. And also on a different album, Paul is walking around barefoot, and they think that's because he's dead. Maybe they don't wear shoes on the Coffin album. And here are the album covers. So here's the bass guitar lead, and then here's his bare feet walking on the street. I'll explain what that is later. Here's some of the disproven proof. So the names are just characters for the concept album. Billy Shears, they just came up with that. Don't know why. They just thought it was creative. And also at the time that they said that Paul had this argument and crash, he was on vacation. So how could he have been in London and then crash his car, or Liverpool or wherever the hell he was? Because some of them say he died in Liverpool, some say he died on the M1 in London. No one knows. The lyrics mention, or like the "Turn Me On, Dead Man," you could say that about any song. You reverse it, you can hear anything. And then the "I Buried Paul," that's definitely not what it says, because it's not legible, or you can't really hear what it actually says. So it's just misinterpreted. The lyric from "A Day in the Life" is about someone else named Tara Brown. Crashed his car. He was the heir to the Guinness fortune. And then the barefoot walking, they're doing the photo shoot for the album, and for some reason Paul said, "I'm going to slip my shoes off for this one," and that's the one that they used. So it didn't really affect anything. They're mostly just annoyed by it. They're like, "Ah," and Paul would try to disprove it. What?
What were they?
The Beatles?
How were they annoying you?
Well, they were just,
There we go.
yeah, so they would just try to disprove it, but they weren't, it didn't really affect anything. They were just annoyed, especially at the time they're all arguing and people think that Paul is dead. It was just kind of annoying to them all. It didn't really affect any of their legacies, but it's pretty common now on like social media in comments to find, "I thought you were dead," on comment sections. It's just really stupid. Do I think it's true? No. It just doesn't make any sense. They'd have to find, like, it's basically impossible to find someone that looks, sounds, and acts exactly like him. And some of the Beatles' best songs would have supposedly been written by this actor named Billy Shears, and it seems very far-fetched, and I'm not sure that that's true. Yeah.
Oh, you flatten it out so
Yeah.
you need more.
Yeah.
Oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
And so, do you know anything about the one other thing about the album cover of Abbey Road?
Yeah.
Do you know what they're supposed to be on that? The four people.
What they're supposed to be.
What the conspiracy theorists say they're supposed to be.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, turn it back to it. No, I don't know.
How do we go back?
Go scroll. Yeah, there we go.
Where?
Jabba's used dead. Do you remember what it is?
What?
So we have the Gravedigger, and then essentially the Undertaker, and then the Minister.
Yeah.
There's one more thing too.
He's wearing his Deadpool.
You know about the Volkswagen in back?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about it, but since I can't really see it, I thought, just.
The license plate says 29.
Yeah.
The AG could have been if he was that, even though that's not.
But it's disproven because he would have been not 29. It would have been a completely different age.
Any other questions? Yeah, because that's the biggest band ever, and so this was a big deal that Paul is dead. And then you have an incredibly popular solo career that's still going on.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right, good job, good start. So in Lima, Peru, last night, 85,000 people saw fake Paul McCartney. Last night in Lima, Peru. Yeah, he had a #1 album 2 years ago. I've seen the fake Paul McCartney 5 times. Good present, good start. I think we ought to stick with music. Who's with me?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Connor.
Oh, yeah.
No. I had tickets to see Ringo Starr, but COVID. Okay. Oh yeah, I gotta move the mouse. Everyone act busy.
Why is it alive? It's always real.
Yeah, what's that again? Yeah, thank you. All right, here we go.
So I have Tupac and Elvis and the conspiracy that they are both still alive. And then I heard people asking what the legend is, and that is the man that shot Tupac. Just was reincarnated recently. So Elvis was a very young, up-and-coming rock and roll artist in the 1950s, all the way to the early 70s. He was very famous along a lot of youthful audiences, like young adults and teens, and he was specifically famous because his version of rock and roll music also incorporated like sounds that you would find in like blues, which kind of also made him popular amongst a lot of different cultures in America at the time. And Tupac was arguably the biggest rapper ever in the 90s, kind of during that rap surge on the West and East Coasts. Many would argue that even though his very famous rapping career was short-lived, that he is easily the greatest rapper of all time. It's in that debate. So the conspiracy starts in both of their deaths. Elvis died from cardiac arrhythmia on August 16, 1977 in his house in Memphis, Tennessee. And it is a very famous joke currently that Elvis did in fact die sitting on the toilet, even though the actual cause of death is cardiac arrhythmia, which, funny enough, also came from him having to be allergic to a medicine called codeine, which he ingested 24 hours before his death, which he did not know he was allergic to until found out too late. Tupac died from respiratory failure exactly 1 week after he was shot in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. The respiratory failure occurred when he had surgery removing his left lung, in which he was shot. Kind of ties in directly why people think Tupac is still alive is because he happened to die a week later, and not exactly at the shooting. So not really a specific person discovered the conspiracy, it's more just like a group of people in disbelief, but a famous woman for Elvis who was a strong believer that he is alive is Gail Brewer Giorgio, who wrote a best-selling book called Is Elvis Alive? In which she described that she went through FBI documents that kind of told her to prove that Elvis is out there, he's kind of in hiding. She believed that Elvis was a hero against the mafia and that he was put into a witness protection program with the CIA. And she said that in an interview with Time magazine. Tupac is slightly less big, but Suge Knight is the founder of Death Row. Suge Knight also had an interview in which he said, you never know about Tupac because Tupac was a very strange individual, according to Suge. He said that Tupac was also too young to die at the time, that it doesn't make any sense why Tupac would have such a short-lived career in his youth and then all of a sudden just die. Suge Knight is also in federal prison right now, so not very credible.
I don't know if that's a good reason to say just because he's young.
Yeah. So facts that prove that Elvis is still alive is, like I said about Gail Brewer Giorgio. She says that he's a hero against the mafia, that he testified against them, and that he's been hiding in witness protection ever since. And Elvis's middle name on his tombstone is also spelled incorrectly as of that of his middle name. Things that prove that Tupac is still alive is that many people saw Tupac as prophetic. People said in the Time magazine that Tupac prophesized Donald Trump's election in 2016 and the Black Lives Matter movement, and they believe that he's some sort of holy figure who is still somehow out there. And another popular one is that he did in fact die a week after he was shot, which kind of leads to a little bit more speculation. But more or less, the pretty big one that a lot of people argue is that they're both really young artists who were too popular, and it makes no sense for them to die at that time. The facts that disprove both of them had open casket funerals. People saw Elvis's body, they saw Tupac's body. They both had really large mass funerals as well. Both of them are still buried, neither one was cremated. Tupac had a surgery after he was shot in which he removed your lung, which does not have a very high success rate at all, especially when you were shot there. You waited too long afterwards. And like I kind of mentioned it earlier, but Elvis also did ingest codeine 24 hours before he died, which he was not aware that he was allergic to until they were investigating his dead body. They realized that Elvis had a very severe allergy to this medicine that he ingested 24 hours before his death. So the lasting effects, people obviously still believe he's still alive. Obviously, if you think Tupac's a prophet, probably you might think he's still alive if you're that religious. Or people believe that Elvis is out there. All the deep fakes you see in Vegas or Tennessee, all the museums he has up in Memphis. And people like to dress up as Elvis, so that kind of, for some reason, probably drunkenly think that is the real Elvis. It kind of also, one of the lasting effects of that kind of proves that people do anything to make them feel better about something. In a sense, it's kind of therapeutic for people to believe that Tupac and Elvis are still alive, that have that connection to them. My evaluation, I think it's kind of down. I think both of them are pretty obviously dead, especially since they had open casket funerals in large cities where the public was invited. I think that more or less is all you really need to prove it. And another thing that doesn't make any sense about the conspiracy is just coming from the fact that people just don't believe he's dead and that they want them to be alive when they're just not.
So you're part of the cover-up.
Yeah.
Did you have any pictures of sightings? You see any pictures of those?
The sightings. Oh, Elvis.
Of Elvis or Tupac?
I did not get a picture of Tupac's being shot, if that's what you're asking.
No, a sighting of them being alive.
Oh, I did actually. Yeah.
Did I miss that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I couldn't see because you were.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. I just saw the one part of it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, then that's Elvis. Yeah, there's like Elvis in trailer courts.
Yeah.
Elvis, Tupac in Cuba.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where they all moved.
One question I did ask. What about Tupac's songs? What happened? Did they release any after he died?
I did not know the answer to that question.
Yeah, there's a bunch of his others. They kept releasing music that he had recorded. So people thought, oh, he must still be alive, which of course, why would you fake your death and keep releasing them? I don't understand the logic of this, but all right, good job.
Yeah.
So I'm in Graceland, Elvis's home, and there were people there just bawling, just crying. They loved, they were kids, teenagers when Elvis was popular, loved him, and they were bawling. So I could see how those kind of people, Elvis meant something to them, and I was a little bit. I remember when Tupac died. I remember when Elvis died, even though I didn't particularly like him.
Plus, Elvis could not make you want to go to Las Vegas too. That was sad.
What's that?
You couldn't make your people to Las Vegas too. That was sad.
That is a sad thing. All right, I think we need some aliens. James, get our alien fix for us. Why isn't this working? Oh, here we go. All right, good job so far. Let's go.
So yeah, I did Area 51. So the base was made in 1955 under Eisenhower, and it was mainly operated by the CIA, and it was mostly used for flight testing aircrafts. Some pictures. The most famous one that was used to test it was the Lockheed U-2. It was a spy plane. I think it was being used for World War II, and this is what people mostly confuse with UFOs, but also the flying pancake, like Mr. Carter just told me about. That's also a plane that people are confusing with UFOs.
And what did the flying pancake look like?
It was just a flat plane, so I can see how it'd be confused with a UFO.
It looked like a pancake.
The theory got started because people were wondering why the government was being so secretive about the base, and they thought they were trying to hide something from the people. And it was funny enough, right when people were starting to think something was being hidden there, that's when the reports started coming in of UFOs and aliens. So the raid got started in 2019. We probably all remember it. It got started through a Facebook post. It was really a joke. No one was actually planning on reading it, but the memes were what made this conspiracy really famous.
So what was the raid? You didn't explain.
I'm getting to it.
Oh, okay.
And the FBI actually took it seriously. They had all these documents about talking about the raid and how they're gonna, counter it. And there's them standing outside the base, making sure no one gets in. So what actually happened at the raid was that it was just a big joke. It was a music festival and bars, and there wasn't any actual raiding going on.
But what was the raid going to be?
They were just gonna all of them storm the base, and they didn't think there'd be enough guards to stop them.
And look for the.
Yeah. And it mostly just ended up being a tourist attraction kind of thing, and there's all the different ways people got money off of the raid. I mean, they had an Area 51 in. And what led people to actually believe this conspiracy is real, the evidence, these are real pictures that they took that were leaked from Area 51, totally not fake. Probably one of the most famous stories that led people to believe that this was real was J-Rod. He's an escaped alien from Area 51, and there's actual documentaries about his life there. And is the conspiracy real? No. Everyone really just sees it as a joke. It's still kind of just a meme. There's no actual real evidence besides just fake pictures, and that's kind of what led most people to not actually believe it, because there's no real proof.
You trying to tell me that picture on the right side?
Unfortunately, yeah.
So let's make sure we get what the conspiracy is. What was the actual conspiracy?
That there's aliens being kept in the base.
By who?
By the government.
The government's keeping them in hiding. And why are they keeping it hidden? Where are the aliens?
Because they don't want the public to know about them. They have to keep them secret, so there's no one freaks out.
That could be part of it, but there's one more thing. Where are they going to get from? What can they get from aliens?
Technology.
There we go. All the technology, all these amazing new technologies they're getting from the aliens. Who do we not want to get this technology? The commies, yeah. All right, good, Jeff. All right. So, one more I would like to do. Andy, you're ready? You want to go?
Oh, yeah. Do you want my paper? I didn't return it.
No, I'll collect it tomorrow.
Oh.
Wait. I'm trying to get rid of this. Won't leave. Give me 1 sec. All right.
So I did the conspiracy of the Boys on the Tracks, which ties into the bigger conspiracy of CIA drug running and assassinations. So some backgrounds, why it was super popular. First became super popular in the 1980s, later 1980s after the crime happened, and people were already starting to distrust the government, and then especially locals after the case. Drugs were more popular than ever, especially cocaine and marijuana. People were beginning to question the government more and more, especially after the JFK assassination. So it happened, specifically the Boys on the Tracks, on August 23rd, 1987. Don Henry and Kevin Ives were out spotlighting in Alexander, Arkansas, which is a form of hunting where a form of legal hunting where someone shines a flashlight on an animal to stun them, and then the other person shoots the animal. People on the train saw it too, and then there was supposed to be a train going through there, and so the people on the train saw two bodies under a tarp, couldn't stop it in time, and by the time and when the train hit the bodies, exploded. But usually it's red, it's blood, but when the train hit the boys, it was like there was this purple residue left, which typically happens, after someone's dead for a while. There's no oxygen in the body, there's no oxygen in the blood. And then the first state medical examiner, Fahmy Mallet, ruled deaths an accident from marijuana intoxication, saying, quote, they smoked the equivalent of 20 marijuana cigarettes. He also later on went on trying to say that some dude's dog tried beating his head. He's crazy. So after the incident, police tried to deny any existence of a tarp. And then 5 months later, the parents hired a second medical examiner, who then ruled the deaths a homicide. So then, what happened to that night? Okay, cool. Hold on. Okay, cool. When the call, what the boys were made the tarp. So then, what really happened if they weren't actually stoned? Why were the deaths finally ruled a homicide? So first, you got to know about Barry Seal, who from the 70s up until his death in 1986. Barry Seal was a famous drug runner who would, and how he would do it was he would fly a plane over, especially Arkansas, because officials in Arkansas were in on it, so he usually got away with it. And he would drop a thing of cocaine down, and people would go out looking for it, and then would sell it throughout the state. The night Don and Kevin went out spotlighting, Seal was doing one of his drug drops. There were also two other groups out that night, a small group of boys looking for a marijuana patch near the tracks, and a group of 5 out looking for the Barry Seal drop, making 3 groups in total, including Don and Kevin. The group of boys looking for the marijuana patch were named Tom Newhouse and Keith Coney. They're actually important. Both came forward about what they saw that night in that group of 5 looking for the product. A couple of those people have also come forward naming the others they saw there, Keith McCassell and Charlene Wilson, being 2 who have come forward naming Dan Harmon, who was the state prosecutor who was in charge of the case of the boys on the tracks as their ringleader. So saying Dan Harmon was out looking for the Barry Seal drug drop. But why do these people matter? While Tom and Keith were out looking for the patch, they saw a large group of people with flashlights approaching and quickly hid, observing what was going on. As the group of 5 stayed there for a bit, they spotted 2 other boys, Don and Kevin. Immediately, the large group began to panic, trying to get Don and Kevin. So then the 2 boys ran to a nearby grocery store, and then other witnesses say they saw a cop car pull up, beat the boys, throw them back in the car. And then later, Charlene Wilson, one of the people looking for the drug drop, said the boys were dead when they returned. Dan Harmon was one of the people in the car with the boys. Yet this story didn't become public for years. So cover-ups. After the deaths of her son, Linda Ives protested for years. That's how she got the second medical examiner. They appointed Dan Harmon, and the entire time he was like, oh yeah, I'll make sure these boys get justice, but he never actually did anything, and that was until Gene Duffy moved into town and was in charge of the drug task force, but was told by many officials, don't look into this case, don't look into state officials, and was ran out of town as soon as she did by Dan Harmon. As soon as she found a witness named Charlene Wilson. And then after she left, Detective John Brown started to look in the case, but was also discouraged not to actually look into it by Dan Harmon. With every person interested in helping the parents find justice being threatened, it made it hard to find out what happened. What made it even harder was what happened to every witness who came forward. Keith Coney, who was one of the boys looking for the marijuana patch, was killed in a motorcycle accident right after coming forward after the incident, yet people who saw what happened say he was ran off the road. Keith McCassell, who was in the group of 5 who came forward, was stabbed 113 times in his garage. The neighbor who reported the incident, who never left his house, was then arrested for the crime, except they couldn't actually link him to it. And many neighbors say they saw 5 men entering McCassell's garage. And the neighbor who reported. So why so much bloodshed over 2 boys? Dan Harmon, because they witnessed something so much bigger themselves. As stated before, Seal did his jobs in Arkansas because many public officials, such as Dan Harmon, were heavily involved. And he was even arrested multiple times in the 90s for drug charges. And then even in later years, the FBI and CIA started looking into the case, except they never really did much, and every document that has ever been recovered has been heavily redacted. You can't get any names. So again, why so much bloodshed? Local officials were involved. They didn't want anyone to know. Yet also people big in government, such as Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, at the time of the case, was the governor of Arkansas, and Barry Silver's jobs in Arkansas because they got away with it. CIA trying to cover up their drug running. What discounts it? No one was ever actually convicted for the murders themselves. The only murder that got convicted was the man who was stabbed 113 times, and even then they arrested his neighbor, Greg Hollins. Only Harmon was convicted for drugs. They never actually looked in the CIA. They just pinned everything on Harmon once he was found playing drugs. Effects. Locals in Alexander, Arkansas stopped trusting their local government, especially after all the corruption with Dan Harmon after he was arrested. Henry and Ives the Henry and Ives family has been in shambles. Linda Ives, the mother who for years was trying to get justice for her son, died sometime in 2023, never getting justice for her son. And nearly every person who has come forward has either been arrested like Charlene Wilson or has been killed. Honestly, with how many people who died after everything, I don't doubt it. Being stabbed 113 times. I don't know. Yeah.
Good, but one thing, what did the CIA have?
Again, tied in with the bigger officials who were tied into it, because Arkansas, they got away with a lot. Bill Clinton, in
What does
Arkansas.
the CIA have? That's a big thing.
They were involved with Barry Seal. They were allowing him to do his drug running.
I don't understand what the CIA.
Yeah, I should have elaborated more on Barry Seal himself, because
Not even that. Why was the CIA running drugs?
it's you get people so addicted, you make money, and it's easy to get away with it.
See, that's what you have to explain.
I didn't explain as much as Barry Seal as I should have.
Yeah, you got to explain what the CIA was doing, and why there would be a conflict. That's one thing. Just repeat.
Yeah,
what the CIA.
The reason why the CIA was doing the drug with Barry Seal is, people get addicted, they make a lot of money, and then with the cover-ups with Don and Henry witnessing as much as they did, and all the other witnesses, they don't want it out that such high officials were involved.
Question.
Can you clarify what
Yes, CIA drug running and assassinations. They do drug runnings, people find out about the drugs running, and they're murdered.
I guess the point is we don't know what the conspiracy was.
Well,
Did they kill them just because?
No, it's the main conspiracy was the boys on the tracks, but ties into the bigger conspiracy of CIA drug running and assassinations.
No, I guess they were killed because the CIA was trying to cover up the crime.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you have to say. It's okay, because you're really interested in this topic and you really knew it, and that was great. And we love hearing that. You just have to be a little more clear on what the conspiracy was. That they were covering up, that they were drug running. And then all this stuff happened because of the big cover. Okay, that's all. But you really liked the topic, and that was awesome. You just you wanted to get right into the murder. Yeah, all right, good job. That was good. That was the only thing, we just had to be clear on that. And the thing was that the CIA was using that money, the big thing was in Nicaragua. They were funding a secret war in Nicaragua against the government, illegally against the law. That was the whole thing. They're taking the money to do that, and they get people addicted to get more money to funnel this illegal war. All right, we're going to do more tomorrow. Good job today. I like that people really like the topic. That was great. I've learned a lot about some things, but you're leaving? Yeah. All right, so let me add one more thing. Everyone going to take your notes out. We're going to add something. So I'm going to add, I'll ask a few questions on each one. But I am going to talk a little bit. There's a few more things about reptoids I do got to get to because this is so crucial. But So let me tell you about two more conspiracies very quickly. And these ones we gotta know. This is kind of a big one. This is a big one. This is one, and you can't disprove this. You can't disprove this. Has anyone ever heard of the last Thursday conspiracy? Yes, what is it?
Is it like restarts every
What restarts? The universe, every Thursday restarts. Every Thursday, the universe restarts, and we start from scratch, and we just implant it on this universe. All our memories came from last Thursday. Once again, but this Thursday, we won't know that because we're going to be in a new universe. In fact, we won't even be here. Every Thursday, a new universe starts. So all the memories we think we have will end at midnight tonight. And then something completely new and different will happen every Thursday.
It's gonna be Christmas.
It could, well, don't you don't even think, it could be, not, it could be just, we could all be amoebas. We could be a totally new universe that's based upon hydrogen. I'm just throwing stuff out here. We could have eyes in the middle of our forehead. Think about it. And the other thing, there'd be no we, because everything restarts. Can you prove I'm wrong? No, you can't prove it. So every Thursday, the universe restarts. Kind of makes things easier, right? I mean, think about it now. We can do whatever we want today. Let's go break stuff because it all restarts on Thursday. The bad part is, what if it doesn't? What if the universe restarts exactly where it left off? Oh my goodness, that just blew my mind. There are people who claim that is true. Now, this is one serious question. Do you believe anybody actually believes this? I wonder if this started with somebody who just like robbed a bank and said, doesn't matter, universe starts Thursday, let me go and spend it. But that's next Thursday. Let's get another one. Shelley Floyd has actually had a huge following about 12 years ago. And this is just when the Facebook was starting. And that Australia isn't real. So this is somebody made a annoying meme, but it's all made up. It's all part of a conspiracy to cover up so many things. 18th century British history. What happened to those actual debtors that were sent to Tasmania? What happened to them? See, what are they covering up? And this could involve the slave trade. Elements of World War II maybe didn't even happen. It's to cover up this massive worldwide conspiracy that Australia is not real. Needless to say, I think I've never been to Australia. Has anyone here been to Australia?
I don't want to, giant spiders.
If you haven't been to Australia, it must not be real. Yes, that is a real conspiracy. I think I have one more. Oh, one more conspiracy. Yeah.
If Australia isn't real, why is it
How do we know it's Australian? Because they say they're Australian? Think about it, huh? Yeah. Huh? Probably. Kiwis. I would like to go to Australia. What I'd really enjoy is the 12-hour plane flight. That would be fun. Who's that?
A guy.
$14.92. Who is it? It's Columbus. Did you say Columbus?
Sounds like Columbus.
Yeah, that's Columbus. Okay, the conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory that Columbus was actually out there. There was no Columbus. So that basically the discovery of the New World by Europeans had already happened. And it came at a time of just the beginning of the Protestant Reformation, just the beginning of like the printing press, the Renaissance, and also it looked like the rise of the Ottoman Empire, and like Christianity might be might be destroyed by the Ottoman Empire. Heck, Vienna is about ready to be sieged for 2 years by the Ottoman Empire. Now that's not all bad, Vienna being besieged. That's where croissants come from. But that's another story. And this was a time to reestablish Europe. So they made Columbus up. So then that would be for a way to immediately exploit the wealth of the New World, to get rid of population they would think might cause trouble in the Old World. And that's Columbus. How do we know it might be true? What evidence? Valid point, and I've never met Columbus. Secondly, who the heck is Columbus? Even if you believe there was Christopher Columbus, which, yeah, who's going to believe that now after that very, very influential speech I just gave? Persuasive. So, what's he look like? No one has any idea. No one has any idea what Columbus looked like. I told you that's Columbus. We don't know. We don't know what Columbus looked like at all. We know nothing about Columbus, really. Nothing. There are so many different pictures of Columbus, it's not even funny. I have no idea what the guy looked like. We don't know anything about him. He claimed he was from Genoa, but he couldn't speak what Genoa is in what country today? He couldn't speak Italian. I don't know what the guy looked like, where he went, what his history, anything about him. These are all Columbus. Here are some more pictures of Columbus. I have no idea what the guy looked like. Nothing. He kind of blew in as a ship captain, a very experienced ship captain that had been all over, including Iceland, all the way down to at least, probably very close to what is now Senegal. He was everywhere. He'd been all across the Mediterranean. By the way, who had been to Iceland? Who colonized Iceland? What kind of people? Bulgarians. So when the who did? Not Bulgarians. Norsemen, the Vikings. They also colonized Greenland and a little place called Newfoundland. Where's Newfoundland? Yeah, in Canada. Maybe he knew they were already there. Who was he? Now, was Columbus real? I don't know. But why do we know so little about him? This literally just came out a month ago. Why? I suspected this. I actually was on the cutting edge of this. No, this is actually true. DNA testing of his relatives. Anybody know? Jewish. He's Jewish, and what was going on in Spain at that time? Anybody know what they were doing to Jews and Muslims? Torturing them for their religion. Wait, anyone know? What was it called? Have you heard of the Inquisition? You don't say you're a Jew in Spain because that means you're going to be tortured. Why does most of the Jews in the world, Jewish people lived in what is now Spain. They fled to Central Europe and Eastern Europe. Exactly. So he's Italian. All right, but there's an element of truth. Columbus was real. Christopher Colombo. Yeah.
Legal conversion.
Relative to they can figure out where he's from. It's called the Spirit Jew. And Spirit Judaism. It doesn't mean 100% that he was a practice teacher with that pretty good evidence. And it's been pretty not common knowledge, but pretty well.
I don't know how that works. James, I will be in there. You got my phone.
I'll talk a little bit more about this, but part of the reason it is a relatively exclusive religion, I do get covered. So it's kind of that separate, they're others. And since they were kicked out by the Romans in that area, that left them with all these people coming in, different, and they were not Christian. And many Christians, New Testament Christians, big reason where in most places they were not allowed to operate big holders. use written interest rates. That was considered sin in old Christianity. So who were the wealthy people get to be money lenders? The Jews would have it. No, they didn't. Nobody else. That's probably instead of whole thing about that horrific prejudice about Jews being. So that's yeah. Interest money. Let me see. Wow, that's amazing. Good job. Looks like a bat, though. I don't know if I trust bats. Should have, but you know, we all make decisions in life.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah, bad, terrible mistakes. I very carefully did.
There were a couple of these. You missed all the yes stuff.
Oh.
Oh, you have a pumpkin. Yeah. So why is the link?
You idiot. Should I wear a suit tomorrow? Oh, should I wear a Take off. Yeah. This is what it is. I don't know.